Most people spend their entire lives looking, but very few ever learn how to see. They move through the world with their eyes open and their minds asleep. They hear conversations but miss intentions. They watch people smile but never notice the resentment hidden behind the expression. They follow opportunities, yet walk past the clues that could have changed their lives forever. And then they wonder why they remain average. The truth is simple. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is observation. The ability to notice what others ignore. The ability to see what exists beneath the surface. The ability to collect information while everyone else is distracted by appearances. Most people believe power comes from action. Wrong. Power comes from awareness. Because before every successful move there is something that was noticed. A weakness, a pattern, a mistake, an opportunity. Something invisible to everyone else. You see, the world constantly reveals itself. People expose their fears, their desires, their insecurities, their intentions, every single day. But because most people are trapped inside their own heads, they never see it. They are too busy thinking about themselves, too busy seeking attention, too busy chasing validation, too busy reacting emotionally. And while they are distracted, the observant person is collecting data, silently, patiently, without anyone noticing. Look at a chess player. The beginner focuses only on the piece directly in front of him. The master sees the entire board. He notices relationships between pieces, future possibilities, hidden threats, patterns invisible to the untrained eye. Life works exactly the same way. Most people only see what is happening. The rare few see why it is happening. And that changes everything. The first lesson in the art of noticing is this: slow down. The modern world has trained people to move fast, scroll fast, think fast, react fast, judge fast. But speed creates blindness. When you rush through life, details disappear. You stop noticing expressions, changes in behavior, shifts in energy, small opportunities, important warnings. Everything becomes a blur. The strongest minds move differently. They are never in a hurry to form conclusions. They watch, they listen, they wait, because they understand something most people never learn. Information reveals itself over time. Imagine standing beside a river. The surface appears chaotic. The water moves rapidly. But if you remain still long enough, patterns begin to emerge. You notice the direction of the current, the deeper sections, the hidden rocks beneath the surface. People are exactly like that river. The more patiently you observe them, the more they reveal themselves. A person can hide their true nature for a few minutes, maybe a few days. But eventually, patterns expose everything, and patterns never lie. Most people trust words. That is their first mistake. Words are cheap. Anyone can create a convincing story. Anyone can pretend. Anyone can say what others want to hear. But behavior tells the truth. Always. Watch actions, not promises. Watch consistency, not performance. Watch habits, not speeches. Because what a person repeatedly does is who they are. Nothing more, nothing less. A weak person can speak confidently. A dishonest person can sound sincere. A lazy person can make ambitious plans. But their actions eventually reveal reality. This is why noticing matters. When you train yourself to observe behavior instead of words, manipulation becomes difficult. Deception becomes obvious. Reality becomes clear. And clarity is power. The second lesson is to notice what people avoid. Most people pay attention to what is visible. The observant pay attention to what is missing. What topics make someone uncomfortable? What questions do they avoid? What responsibilities do they constantly escape? What truths do they refuse to acknowledge? Sometimes, what is absent tells you more than what is present. Silence speaks. Avoidance speaks. Excuses speak. The things people run from often reveal their greatest fears, and fear controls behavior more than logic ever will. Notice this carefully. Every human being has emotional blind spots, weak points, pressure points, areas where reason disappears and emotion takes control. Most people never identify these weaknesses. The observant person does. And once you understand what drives people emotionally, their behavior becomes predictable. Predictable people are easy to understand, easy to influence, easy to outmaneuver. But this skill is not only about understanding others, it is also about understanding yourself. Because the hardest person to observe, objectively, is you. Most people believe they know themselves. They don't. They know the version of themselves they want to believe exists. Those are two completely different things. Notice your own patterns. When do you procrastinate? When do you lose focus? What triggers your anger? What weakens your discipline? What excuses appear repeatedly? Observe yourself without emotion, without judgment, without ego. Become a scientist studying your own mind. The moment you learn to observe yourself honestly, growth becomes inevitable. Because awareness destroys illusion, and illusion is the greatest enemy of progress. Most people fail because they never notice the habits destroying them. They notice the result, but not the cause. They notice failure, but not the pattern that created it. They notice weakness, but not the daily decisions producing it. The observant person works differently. He identifies the source, and when you control the source, the outcome changes automatically. That is why awareness always comes before transformation. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Another skill almost nobody develops is noticing energy. Not mystical energy, behavioral energy. The emotional atmosphere surrounding people. Walk into a room, observe who seeks attention, who remains calm, who dominates conversations, who listens, who reacts emotionally, who remains composed under pressure. These details reveal hierarchy, confidence, insecurity, competence, weakness without a single word being spoken. Most people are too busy trying to be noticed. The powerful are busy noticing. That is why they see more. Think about predators in nature. They survive because they observe. Every movement matters. Every sound matters. Every change matters. A distracted predator starves. A distracted human being wastes opportunities. The world rewards awareness, far more than people realize. An opportunity rarely announces itself. It appears disguised as a small detail, a passing comment, a subtle trend, a tiny inconsistency. Most people miss it. The observant person notices, and that single observation changes everything. History is full of people who succeeded because they noticed something everyone else ignored. A gap in the market, a flaw in a system, a hidden pattern. The information existed for everyone, but only a few truly saw it. That is the difference. The information is often visible. The awareness is rare. Notice how people behave when they think nobody is watching. That version is usually real. Masks disappear when attention disappears. Character reveals itself in private moments, not public performances. Anyone can appear disciplined when others are watching. Anyone can appear kind when it benefits them. Anyone can appear confident in comfortable situations. But who are they when nobody is looking? That is where truth lives. And if you apply the same principle to yourself, your life changes forever. Who are you when nobody is watching? When there is no audience, no praise, no recognition? Do you still work? Do you still improve? Do you still stay disciplined? Or does motivation disappear? Observe honestly, because your private habits create your public future. Most people spend years trying to change outcomes. Very few change patterns, and patterns determine outcomes. The art of noticing allows you to identify patterns before they become permanent, before weakness becomes failure, before opportunity becomes regret, before mistakes become consequences. That is why awareness is a weapon. A silent weapon, invisible yet incredibly powerful. Imagine two people walking through the same city. One notices buildings, the other notices human behavior. One notices traffic, the other notices opportunities. One sees objects, the other sees information. Both live in the same reality, yet they experience completely different worlds. Because reality is not defined by what exists. Reality is defined by what you notice. The person who notices more lives in a larger world, a richer world, a world filled with possibilities invisible to everyone else. Train yourself to become uncomfortable with distraction. Distraction is the enemy of observation. Every notification steals attention. Every unnecessary scroll weakens awareness. Every moment spent consuming mindlessly reduces your ability to notice. And attention is your most valuable asset. Where attention goes, awareness follows. Where awareness goes, power grows. Protect your attention. Guard it. Use it deliberately. Because once your attention becomes fragmented, your perception becomes fragmented too. And fragmented perception leads to poor decisions. Poor decisions create average lives. The strongest minds understand something simple. The quality of your observations determines the quality of your decisions. And the quality of your decisions determines the quality of your future. Everything begins with noticing. Notice your environment. Notice your habits. Notice people's behavior. Notice patterns. Notice opportunities. Notice weaknesses. Notice strengths. Notice reality exactly as it is, not as you wish it to be, not as others describe it, but as it truly exists, because reality rewards those who see clearly and punishes those who live inside illusions. Most people spend their lives asleep, not physically. Mentally, they drift through routines, repeat the same mistakes, ignore the same lessons, miss the same opportunities, year after year, and then they call it fate. It was never fate. It was blindness. The opportunity was there. The warning was there. The lesson was there. The pattern was there. They simply failed to notice. Do not become one of those people. Become the observer, the silent student of reality. Walk through life with your eyes open and your mind awake. Study everything. Question everything. Notice everything. Not because you are paranoid, but because awareness creates freedom. The more you understand reality, the less reality controls you. You begin to anticipate instead of react, to predict instead of panic, to understand instead of assume. And that is when you become dangerous. Not because you are stronger than others, not because you are smarter than others, but because you see what others cannot. While they chase appearances, you see intentions. While they hear words, you hear meaning. While they react emotionally, you observe objectively. While they sleep, you remain awake. And in a world where 99% of people never truly pay attention, the person who masters observation gains an advantage that cannot be measured, an advantage that compounds every single day. The art of noticing is not a talent. It is a discipline, a choice, a way of moving through reality. Start today. Observe more. Speak less. React less. Watch more. Listen more. Think deeper. Because hidden inside the details everyone ignores, hidden inside the patterns nobody studies, hidden inside the moments most people overlook, are the answers they spend their entire lives searching for. And once you learn to see them, you can never go back to being blind. Let me ask you something. You walk into a room. What do you notice first? Maybe the furniture. Maybe the people. Maybe you check your phone because you're nervous and you don't know what else to do. Now imagine someone else walks into that same room. Same people. But in the next 60 seconds, they already know who's insecure, who's performing confidence, who's lying, who's genuinely relaxed, and who's about to cause a problem. That person is Ayanokoji Kiyotaka, and what he does isn't magic. It isn't genius. It's a system, a method, and today we're going to break it down level by level so you can start using it in your real life. But first, let me tell you the biggest lie people believe about observation. Most log kadimag main ek idea stuck high that observation means staring harder, paying more attention, being more present. So they try to watch people closely. And what happens? They get weird. People notice them staring. They start overthinking every little thing. And then they give up and say, Yar, main itna sharp nahi hun. That's not the problem. The problem is, they're observing the wrong things, at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. Ayanokoji doesn't stare. He doesn't analyze loudly. He doesn't broadcast his observations. He collects quietly. And the data he collects, it compounds. One small thing today. One small thing tomorrow. By the time something important happens, he already knows the answer before anyone else has even asked the question. That's what we're building today. The hidden observation system. 4 levels. 3 steps each. Let's go. Level 1 is called baseline reading. This is the foundation. Without this, everything else falls apart. Here's the thing about people: they have a default mood, a way they naturally are when nothing stressful is happening. The way they talk when they're comfortable. The way they hold their body when they're at ease. The pace at which they normally speak. This is called their baseline. And most people never bother to learn someone's baseline. They just react to whatever mood or behavior shows up in the moment. But Ayanokoji, he studies the baseline first. Before he forms any opinion. Before he makes any move. Step 1 of level 1. Observe people when nothing is at stake. This is crucial. Ek boring meeting mang baith kadeko who doodles, who checks their phone, who stares at the ceiling. At a casual lunch, watch who talks the most when they're relaxed. Watch how someone laughs when they're genuinely amused, versus when they're laughing to be polite. These low-pressure moments are gold, because this is who the person actually is. This is their factory setting. Step 2, notice the small physical habits. Not dramatic body language. Forget all that crossed arms means defensive oversimplification. Look for micro habits. Does this person touch their face when they're thinking? Do they look down and to the left before they answer something difficult? Do they speak faster when they're excited or when they're nervous? These tiny repeated patterns, they're unique to each person. And once you spot them, you own the key to reading that person under pressure. Step 3, listen for their default vocabulary. People have favorite words and phrases. Words they reach for automatically. Some people say honestly before every important sentence. Some people say I mean when they're about to backtrack. Some people laugh first before delivering bad news. These verbal habits are unconscious. The person doesn't even know they're doing it. But you will. And that tiny awareness gives you a 1-second head start in every conversation. That's level 1. No drama, no staring, just quiet, patient baseline collection. Karnakya High? Start with one person in your life this week. Just one. And spend 5 days just logging their default behavior in your head. Level 2. Pattern interruption detection. Now that you have the baseline, you can spot the moment something breaks from it. This is where it gets interesting, because here's what Ayanokoji understands, that most people don't reveal themselves when things are going smoothly. They reveal themselves when something unexpected hits, when a plan changes, when they don't get what they expected, when someone says something that brushes against their real feelings. Those moments of interruption, that's when the mask slips. Just for a second, and if you're watching, you catch it. Step 1 of level 2, train yourself to notice the gap between stimulus and response. Someone says something. There's always a tiny moment before the other person responds. Most people use that moment to think of what they want to say next. Ayanokoji uses it to watch what the other person is feeling before they decide how to respond. That fraction of a second ek blinks a calm, that's when the real emotion flickers across their face. Surprise, annoyance, fear, relief, greed. It's all there. Fleeting, but real. Step 2, track inconsistency between words and energy. Someone says I'm totally fine with that, but their jaw tightens slightly. Someone says I don't care, but they bring it up again 15 minutes later unprompted. Someone says you can trust me, but they give you the answer before you even finish asking the question, which means they were rehearsing it. Words and energy rarely lie at the same time. When they disagree with each other, believe the energy. Step 3. Notice what people avoid talking about. This is underrated. Bahut, powerful, high, yiwala. What someone refuses to address tells you more than what they say. If you mention a topic and someone changes the subject, deflects with humor, gives a very vague answer, or suddenly gets very busy with their phone, that topic matters to them in a way they don't want you to know about. Log avoid karte hainjo. Unhe uncomfortable karte hai. And discomfort means there's something there. Ayanokoji catalogs every dodge, every redirect, because avoidance is data. Level 2, practice. Pick any group situation this week. Could be a class, an office meeting, a family dinner. Don't try to analyze everyone. Just watch for one moment of pattern interruption per person. One moment where someone's reaction doesn't match their baseline. Just one. Write it down mentally. You'll be surprised how much it reveals. Level 3. Motivation mapping. This is where you go from reading people to understanding them at the root level. See, most people only see behavior. Wodek lete heng kya ho ra hai. But Ayanokoji always goes one level deeper. He asks why, not in a philosophical way, in a strategic way. What does this person actually want? What are they afraid of? What would they sacrifice to protect? What would they do anything to get? Because once you know someone's core motivation, their behavior becomes completely predictable. They might surprise others. They won't surprise you. Step 1, identify the emotional currency each person runs on. Every person operates primarily on one dominant emotional need. Some people need to be respected above everything else. Disrespect them even slightly, and they become irrational. Some people need to feel safe and secure. Threaten their stability, and they'll betray anyone. Some people need to be seen as smart, or kind, or successful. Take that away, and they'll fight dirty. Koi validation pachalta hai. Koi control pay. Koi belonging pay. Figure out what someone's emotional currency is, and you understand almost every decision they make. Step 2, watch what they spend energy on, versus what they claim to care about. People lie, not always maliciously. Sometimes they genuinely believe their own stated priorities. They say family is everything, but they're always at work. They say they don't care about money, but they always bring up other people's salaries. They say they want to improve, but they reject every piece of feedback. Ayanokoji watches the energy, not the speech. Where someone consistently puts their time, attention, stress, and effort That's what they actually value. Baaki saw performance high. Step 3. Understand their fear profile, not just their desire profile. Desires push people forward. Fears drive them harder. A person desperate to climb the social ladder is motivated by ambition. Yes, but they're more powerfully driven by the terror of being looked down on. A person who constantly seeks approval isn't just looking for compliments, they're running from the deep fear that without external validation, they might be worthless. When you map someone's fears, you don't just understand them, you can predict when they're about to do something desperate. You can see the panic before they act on it, and that gives you time to prepare. Level 3 practice. Think about 3 people in your close circle. For each one, try to answer one question honestly. What is the one thing they would do almost anything to avoid? Not what they say they want. What would shake them to their core if they lost it? Status? Security? Love? Control? Sit with that question. The answer will change how you see every interaction you've had with them. Level 4. Strategic silence and calculated presence. This is the final level. And this is what makes Ayanokoji. Because all the observation, all the pattern reading, all the motivation mapping, it only matters if you use it wisely. And the biggest mistake most people make when they start becoming more observant? They talk too much. They get excited. They want to show people they figured them out. They share their observations to look smart. Ayanokoji never does this. His power comes from what he does not say, from the moments he chooses not to act, from the long game he plays when everyone else is reacting to today. Step 1 of Level 4. Practice strategic silence in real-time conversations. When someone finishes speaking, don't rush to respond. Take an extra 2 seconds. Just 2. In that silence, watch what happens. The other person often fills it, and what they fill it with is usually revealing. They'll over-explain. They'll second-guess themselves. They'll reveal the insecurity behind the statement. Silence makes other people uncomfortable, and their discomfort is information. Jaldi bolne ki zarurat nahi. Joruk sakta hai, wo control karta hai. Step 2. Control your reveals. This is something Ayanokoji does masterfully. He knows far more than he lets on, and he chooses very precisely when to reveal what he knows, and how much. You can do the same when you have information, a read on someone, or a strategic advantage. Don't use it immediately, just because you can. Ask yourself, what's the best moment to use this? Would using it now give me a short-term win, but cost me a long-term position? Sometimes the most powerful move is to stay quiet and let people continue underestimating you. The card you hold privately is worth more than the card you play impulsively. Step 3. Use your observations to create value, not just advantage. This is the part most people miss when they study Ayanokoji. They think the whole point of observing people is manipulation, deception, getting ahead at someone else's expense. But that's shallow. Real power isn't about winning against people. It's about understanding them so deeply that you can help, influence, collaborate, and navigate in ways that ordinary people simply cannot. You know someone's fear profile? Use it to have a conversation that actually reassures them, instead of accidentally triggering them. You know someone's emotional currency? Use it to communicate in a way they can actually receive. You know someone's patterns? Use them to create trust, to build loyalty, to de-escalate conflict before it explodes. Observation at the highest level isn't a weapon. The language. And people who speak it fluently, they build real, lasting influence. So here's the mindset shift I want you to carry out of this video. Most people move through the world reacting. Someone says something, they react. Something happens, they react. Someone's behavior confuses them, they react with frustration, with assumption, With judgment, Ayanokoji moves differently. He doesn't react to the surface. He reads the depth. He doesn't chase information, he positions himself where information naturally flows to him. He doesn't try to control people, he understands them so well that they end up moving in directions he already anticipated. And you know what that takes? Not genius, not manipulation, not some special IQ. It takes patience. It takes the discipline to observe before you speak. It takes the humility to admit that what you see on the surface is almost never the whole picture. And it takes the quiet confidence to sit with what you know without feeling the need to broadcast it. Yahi to hidden high is method main. It's not hidden because it's complicated. Hidden because almost nobody has the patience to build it properly. But you're watching this, so maybe you do. Start small. One person, one baseline, one pattern, one moment of silence where you used to rush to speak. That's where it begins. Observation isn't about watching people. It's about finally seeing them. And when you learn to truly see people, you stop being surprised by life. You stop getting played. You stop misreading situations. And you start moving through the world with a quiet, unshakable clarity that most people will never even know is possible. That's the Ayanokoji method. And now, it's yours. If this breakdown gave you something useful, something you're actually going to use this week, share it with one person who you think thinks deeply. They'll know exactly what to do with it. And if you want the next level, how Ayanokoji handles long game strategy and multi-person dynamics that one's coming, stay locked in. There is a room with no windows, no clock, no color, no sound except your own breathing. They put children in that room and broke most of them before age 10. The ones who survived didn't become soldiers. They didn't become geniuses in the way you imagine genius. They became something quieter, something far more dangerous, people who stopped needing anything from the world in order to control it. One of them grew up to sit in the back of an ordinary classroom, saying almost nothing, forgotten by everyone in the room within minutes of meeting him. And yet, by the end of every conflict, every manipulation, every carefully engineered disaster designed to break him, he was still standing, and no one ever understood how. This is not a video about motivation. Motivation is for people who need to feel something before they act. What you're about to walk through does not care how you feel. It does not ask you to believe in yourself. It asks you to remove yourself, the noisy, emotional, approval-seeking version of you, and replace it with something colder. 10 levels, each one harder than the last. Most people who start this will quit by level 4, not because the task is physically difficult, but because it asks them to give up something they think they need. Their reactions, their image, their need to be understood. You will not be told to dream big. You will be told what almost breaks a human mind, and then you will be asked to walk toward it anyway. If you finish all 10 levels, you won't feel inspired. You'll feel like something in you has been quietly rebuilt without your permission. Most people close this tab before level 3. Let's see what you are. Level 1. The first level is not a skill. It is a subtraction. Before the White Room teaches a child anything, it removes their attachment to being seen. Every human being alive has been trained since infancy to perform, to smile when watched, to posture when judged, to shape their behavior around an audience. This performance is so constant that most people mistake it for their personality. The psychology here is simple and brutal. A person who needs to be noticed can always be predicted. Predictability is a leash. Whoever controls what you want controls what you'll do to get it. Normal people fail at this level before they even realize it's a test. They walk into a room and instinctively adjust their posture, their voice, their opinions to match whoever holds status in that room. They call this social skill. It is actually a vulnerability wearing a costume. Ayanokoji was not liked. He was not remembered. He arranged it that way because a person no one is watching is a person no one is measuring, and a person who isn't being measured cannot be controlled through image. Your challenge. For the next 7 days, do not tell a single person about your goals, your workouts, your plans, or your progress. Let no one witness your effort. Notice how much of your motivation quietly disappears when there's no audience. That missing motivation was never yours. It belonged to the people you were performing for. Most people can't survive a week of being unseen, but invisibility is only the entrance. The real test begins with what your body does when no one is giving you permission to stop. Level 2. The second level lives inside your nervous system, not your intentions. Discipline is not a decision made once. It is a repeated negotiation between the part of you that wants comfort and the part of you that wants results. And that negotiation happens dozens of times a day, mostly beneath conscious awareness. The White Room trains this through deprivation, cold rooms, broken sleep, denied meals, not to cause damage, but to force the mind to keep functioning while the body screams for relief. What emerges from that training is a nervous system that no longer treats discomfort as an emergency. This is where most people fail, and they fail quietly. They don't quit dramatically. They simply negotiate the intensity down. 1 fewer set, 5 minutes shorter. I'll start tomorrow properly. Each small negotiation trains the brain that discomfort is optional. Ayanokoji's body never got that lesson. His discomfort tolerance was engineered to be a locked door, not a suggestion. Your challenge: choose one form of physical training this week. Running, resistance, breath holds, cold exposure. At the exact moment your mind says, stop, continue for 60 more seconds. Not to injury, to the edge of the negotiation. Do this daily. You are not training muscle. You are training the voice that decides when you're allowed to quit. This mistake, negotiating with discomfort, destroys almost everyone before they reach anything worth having. But your body was never the real battlefield. Your face is. Level 3. The third level is emotional concealment, and it is where most people discover they have far less control over themselves than they believed. Every emotion produces a signal. In the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, the breath. Most humans broadcast these signals constantly and call it being authentic. In reality, it's an open channel that anyone observant can read and exploit. The White Room does not teach children to suppress emotion. Suppression fails under pressure and leaks out sideways. It teaches something colder: the ability to feel the emotion completely, internally, while presenting a face that reveals nothing useful to an opponent. This is why Ayanokoji could be insulted, threatened, cornered, and still respond in the same even tone. Not because he felt nothing, because what he felt never reached the surface. His face was not a mask. It was a wall. Most people fail here because they think calmness under pressure means numbness. It doesn't. Numb people make careless mistakes because they've stopped paying attention to their own signals. The goal is to feel everything and reveal nothing. Your challenge: for the next situation that provokes you, an insult, criticism, unfair treatment, take 3 seconds before reacting. In that gap, notice the exact physical location of the emotion in your body. Then respond with a flat, measured tone regardless of what you feel. Practice this until the gap becomes automatic. You've only survived the beginning of this level. The next part is where people actually break, because now you have to use this skill on people who love you. Level 4. The fourth level is the hardest emotional demand so far: applying composure to people who are not your enemies. It is relatively easy to stay calm with a stranger who insults you. It is far harder to stay composed with a parent, a partner, a close friend, people whose opinions are wired directly into your sense of identity. The White Room trained its subjects to treat every relationship, even affectionate ones, as a system to be read rather than a source of validation to be consumed. This sounds cold because it is cold, but the psychology behind it is precise. Anyone whose emotional stability depends on another person's approval has handed that person a remote control to their behavior. Ayanokoji's relationships were built on observation, not need. He could walk away from any of them without his internal state changing because his sense of self was never outsourced to begin with. Normal people fail here because they mistake emotional need for love. They confuse, "I need your approval to feel okay," with intimacy. It is not intimacy, it is dependency wearing intimacy's clothing. Your challenge: identify one relationship where you consistently shape your behavior to avoid disappointing someone. For 1 week, make a decision that serves your actual priorities, communicated calmly, even if it causes friction. Do not apologize for it. Observe the discomfort. That discomfort is the leash you've been wearing. This is where most people quietly stop watching this video, because it asks them to risk being disliked by someone they love. If you're still here, the next level takes everything you've built and turns it outward. Level 5. The fifth level is observation, and it separates the trained from the untrained more sharply than anything before it. Most people move through the world watching only for information relevant to themselves. Are they being judged, liked, threatened? This is a survival instinct. but it is an extremely narrow lens. The White Room trained something different, total situational observation, where every gesture, hesitation, word choice, and inconsistency in another person becomes data, regardless of whether it concerns you. Ayanokoji rarely needed to ask questions because he had already watched the answer unfold in someone's behavior minutes earlier. A change in someone's blink rate, a pause before a lie, the way status reorganizes a room the moment a powerful person enters it. None of this requires supernatural intuition. It requires attention that isn't consumed by your own self-monitoring. This is precisely why normal people fail. Their attention is almost entirely occupied by managing their own image, so they have none left over to actually watch anyone else. Observation and self-consciousness cannot occupy the same space in the mind at the same time. Your challenge: spend 1 hour today in a public space, a train, a cafe, a waiting room, with no phone. Watch people's hands, posture, and micro-expressions. Try to determine, without hearing their words, who holds status in each interaction and who is anxious. Write down what you noticed. You will start to see the patterns underneath ordinary behavior, but seeing patterns is nothing without the ability to use silence as a weapon, and that is the next level. Level 6. The 6th level is the discipline of withheld information, and this is where the word manipulation starts to matter, used here in its precise, ethical sense. The deliberate shaping of outcomes through what you choose not to reveal, not through deception. Most people talk to relieve internal pressure. They explain their plans before they're ready, defend themselves before they're accused, fill silence because silence feels unbearable. Every one of these habits gives away strategic position for free. The White Room trains the opposite reflex. Information is currency, and currency spent carelessly has no value. Ayanokoji almost never explained his reasoning until it served a purpose. He let others fill silence with their own assumptions, and those assumptions were almost always wrong and almost always worked in his favor. This is not about lying, it's about recognizing that not every truth needs to be spoken, and not every question deserves an immediate answer. Normal people fail here because unexplained silence feels socially uncomfortable, so they rush to fill it, handing over information nobody asked them to give. Your challenge: for 3 days, practice answering personal questions with the minimum truthful response necessary. No elaboration, no over-explaining. When someone probes further, let the silence sit instead of filling it. Notice how much power exists in a pause you don't rush to end. You now know how to observe and how to withhold. The next level asks you to use both at once, under real pressure in real time. Level 7. The 7th level is decision-making under manufactured chaos, and this is where the training stops being about the self and starts being about performance in conflict. The White Room's most effective technique was not punishment, it was disorientation, sudden contradictory instructions, impossible choices, artificial time pressure, because a mind that panics under confusion makes worse decisions than a mind that simply lacks information. Panic is not caused by danger, it's caused by the feeling that you must decide instantly. Ayanokoji's advantage in every crisis was never intelligence alone. It was his refusal to let urgency compress his thinking. He treated every crisis as if he had unlimited time, even when he had none, because artificial urgency is usually manufactured by someone who benefits from your bad decision. Most people fail here because they associate speed with competence. Under pressure, they answer, agree, or react immediately, mistaking movement for control. Your challenge: the next time you're pressured to decide something quickly, in an argument, a negotiation, a group decision, say, "I need a moment," and take 1 full minute of silence before answering, regardless of how uncomfortable that minute feels to everyone watching. This mistake, mistaking speed for strength, destroys almost everyone under pressure. But there's a deeper level beneath decision-making, and it's the one the White Room considered the true dividing line. Level 8. The 8th level is the death of the need to win visibly. Most people who acquire skill, power, or advantage cannot resist demonstrating it. They want credit. They want the room to know they were right. This need is so common it's almost invisible, but it is also the single most exploitable trait a person can have, because anyone who needs recognition can be baited into revealing their hand. The White Room's most advanced subjects were trained to win completely while appearing to have done nothing. Ayanokoji orchestrated outcomes that changed the entire balance of power in his environment and walked away from them unremembered, sometimes even blamed for the opposite of what he'd done. He never corrected the record. Being underestimated was not an accident, it was the entire strategy. Normal people fail here almost universally because ego is the last thing anyone is willing to sacrifice. They will sacrifice comfort, sleep, relationships, but not the moment of being seen as right. Your challenge: the next time you solve a problem, help someone, or make a correct call that others doubted, say nothing about it. Let credit go elsewhere if it does. Watch how much discomfort arises from being competent and unacknowledged. That discomfort is ego, and ego is the last leash left on you. If you have made it this far, you are no longer training skills. You are dismantling the architecture of a normal identity. What's left is almost unrecognizable, and the next level tests whether that's actually true. Level 9. The 9th level is isolation without loneliness, and almost no one at this stage passes it cleanly. Every previous level has quietly separated you from ordinary behavior, not needing an audience, not leaking emotion, not needing approval, not needing credit. The natural consequence of this is a kind of solitude, because most relationships are built on exactly the dynamics you've been removing. This is where people panic and try to rebuild their old dependencies just to feel less alone. The White Room's subjects were engineered to be self-contained systems, capable of connection but never dependent on it for internal stability. Ayanokoji could exist entirely alone for extended periods without deterioration, not because he didn't value people, but because his sense of self was never built on needing them. This is the level where the difference between strength and coldness actually matters, and where most people misunderstand the entire journey. The goal was never to feel nothing for others. It was to no longer require them in order to remain stable. Your challenge: spend one full day in near total solitude. No calls, no messages, no social feeds, and notice which parts of your mind start looking for external input to feel normal. That search is the last dependency. Sit with it instead of feeding it. Most people never complete this level because solitude without escape is one of the few experiences modern life has almost entirely engineered them to avoid. If you're still here, there is only one level left, and it isn't a skill at all. Level 10. The 10th level has no technique. It is the moment you realize that everything up to now, the invisibility, the discomfort tolerance, the concealed emotion, the boundaries, the observation, the silence, the patience, the vanished ego, the solitude, was never about becoming someone else. It was about removing everything that was installed in you by other people's expectations, until what remained was simply you, operating without needing permission, approval, comfort, or an audience to exist. This is not graduation into a weapon. It is graduation into someone who can no longer be manipulated by the mechanisms that quietly run most human behavior, because you have already tested and dismantled every one of them in yourself first. Ayanokoji was never dangerous because he could hurt people. He was dangerous because nothing about him could be predicted, pressured, flattered, or frightened into moving. Power like that isn't given. It's built, level by level, in rooms no one else is watching. You don't need a white room. You built 10 levels deep the moment you decided to finish this video instead of closing it. Most people never even attempt level 1. You now know exactly why. Okay, be honest with me for a second. How many hours this week have you spent fighting fires, answering the urgent email, fixing the thing that broke, reacting to the competitor who just did something you didn't see coming? You feel busy, you feel exhausted, but at the end of the week, are you actually ahead, or did you just survive? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Blockbuster's executives were busy too. They were working insane hours right up until the day they went bankrupt. Because being busy isn't the same as being strategic. There are two types of people in business and in life. There's the fighter, and there's the chess player. The fighter reacts, the chess player anticipates. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the actual neuroscience of why one of these mindsets is quietly bankrupting you, and the other one built companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll never look at being busy the same way again. Let's start with something wild. This isn't just a mindset thing. It's literally wired into your brain. Neuroscientists have a name for this. It's called the dual mechanisms of control framework, and it says your brain runs on two completely different operating systems. The first one is proactive control. This is the chess player brain. It keeps your goals actively loaded in your prefrontal cortex before anything even happens. It's constantly scanning ahead, biasing your attention toward what matters so you can stop problems before they start. The second one is reactive control. This is the fighter brain. It does nothing until something hits you. Then it scrambles a much bigger, messier part of your brain to clean up the mess after the fact. Now here's the catch. Proactive control is powerful, but it's expensive. It burns serious mental energy all day, every day. Reactive control is cheap and easy until the moment it isn't, because it leaves you wide open to distraction, to noise, to getting blindsided. And this shows up in real data. Young, sharp adults tend to run on proactive control, planning ahead, adapting fast, making fewer mistakes. But as people age, the brain quietly shifts toward reactive control, more knee-jerk, less foresight. Even athletes prove this. Think about tennis. A serve can travel over 100 miles an hour, way faster than human reaction time should allow. So how does a pro return it? They're not reacting to the ball, they're reading the toss, the shoulder rotation, the tiny cues before the ball is even hit. They're already moving before it happens. That's the chess player's brain in action. And sprinters, who are incredible at raw reaction time, actually struggle the moment you throw them into an unpredictable, chaotic environment. Because reacting fast still isn't the same as seeing it coming. So if your brain already has this anticipation mode built in, why do so few of us actually use it under pressure? That's exactly what we need to unpack next. Chess grandmasters aren't naturally smarter than everyone else. They've just trained specific mental habits that the rest of us never learn. And the first one might surprise you. It's called thinking sideways. Jennifer Shahade, a two-time US women's chess champion, describes it like this. Instead of just calculating the obvious move in a straight line, grandmasters force themselves to scan for the option that isn't obvious at all. The move sitting off to the side that a normal player wouldn't even consider. Why does this matter so much? Because of something called tunneling. Tunneling is when you get so locked onto one loud, urgent problem that you go completely blind to everything else happening around you. In chess, that's spending 10 minutes calculating one attack while your opponent quietly builds a winning position on the other side of the board. In business, that's burning 3 weeks fixing a customer complaint, while a competitor quietly eats your market share. Same trap, different board. Now, once you avoid tunneling, you need a way to actually evaluate your options. And this is where Garry Kasparov's framework comes in. He breaks strategy down into 3 variables: material, time, and quality. In plain English, your resources, your speed, and your position. And here's the line that should stick with you. Evaluation is more important than calculation. People assume grandmasters win by calculating 20 moves ahead. They don't. They win because they correctly judge the position first. Rushing straight to calculation before you've evaluated what's actually happening can quietly rule out your best options before you even see them. But even with great evaluation, you still can't treat every decision the same way. That's where Grandmaster Maurice Ashley's 4-tier system comes in. Automatic moves, no thought needed, just execute. Simple decisions, low stakes, trust your gut. Critical moments, high stakes. This is where you slow down and calculate hard. Strategic decisions, complex, ambiguous, and this is where real mastery lives. The #1 mistake people make, treating every single decision like a critical moment. That's exhausting. That's the fighter burning energy on everything, all the time. So, if this way of thinking is so powerful, why isn't everyone doing it naturally? Because it's not a talent, it's a trained skill, and that means it has to be built deliberately. Here's a story that proves this isn't magic, it's method. A psychologist named Laszlo Polgar ran one of the boldest experiments in history. He set out to prove that grandmaster-level chess mastery could be built, not born. So he raised his 3 daughters specifically to test it. All 3 became world-class grandmasters. But here's the part people miss. It wasn't just practice, it was deliberate practice. And the difference is massive. Picture 2 people, each spending an hour shooting basketball. One of them just shoots casually, chats with a friend, doesn't track anything. The other one shoots 200 shots, has someone tracking every miss, left, right, short, long, and reviews the data every 10 minutes. Both people practiced for an hour. Only one of them actually improved. Deliberate practice comes down to 6 things: staying curious, having real purpose, deliberately stretching past your comfort zone, breaking big skills into small chunks, getting brutally accurate feedback, and having the grit to keep going anyway. Notice something? None of those 6 things are about talent. They're all about structure, which means the chess player mindset isn't reserved for a gifted few. It's available to anyone willing to build it deliberately. But here's the problem. Most companies in America aren't building it at all. In fact, the data shows the opposite is happening on a massive scale. This next part might genuinely make you angry. McKinsey, alongside the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, surveyed over 1,000 C-suite executives and board members, and what they found exposes exactly why so many companies are stuck in fighter mode. 63% said short-term pressure had gotten worse over the last 5 years. 79% said they feel intense pressure to show strong financial results within 2 years or less. 44% admitted their entire strategic planning horizon is under 3 years. Now here's the gut punch. 86% of these same executives admitted that a longer time horizon would actually improve their financial returns. Read that again. They know the fighter mindset is hurting them. They're doing it anyway. Why? Harvard Business School's former dean, Nitin Noria, nailed the psychological reason. Long-term strategy feels uncertain and risky. Short-term cost-cutting feels certain and safe, even when it quietly destroys the future. So companies starve their R&D. They delay the big bets. They tweak the numbers to look good this quarter. Classic fighter behavior. And the cost of this? McKinsey tracked over 600 US public companies using something called the Corporate Horizon Index. Long-term chess player companies generated 47% higher revenue growth, 36% higher earnings growth, 81% higher economic profit growth. They created 12,000 more jobs on average. Zoom out even further, and McKinsey estimates that if the entire US public market had played the long game, GDP could have grown by an extra $1 trillion over the last decade, an extra 5 million jobs. That's not a rounding error, that's an entire mindset, multiplied across an entire economy. Okay, numbers are convincing, but nothing hits home like watching this play out in real companies in real time. So let's look at exactly how this mindset difference destroyed one company and built an empire out of another. In 2004, Blockbuster looked untouchable. 9,000 stores, nearly $6 billion in revenue, the undisputed king of movie night. But look closer at how they actually made their money. A huge chunk of their cash flow, $800 million in the year 2000 alone, came from late fees. They were literally profiting off their customers' frustration. Then in 2000, a tiny DVD by mail startup called Netflix walked in and offered to sell itself to Blockbuster for $50 million. Blockbuster's executives laughed them out of the room. Here's why that moment matters so much. Netflix wasn't thinking like a fighter defending DVD rentals. They were playing chess. They knew physical DVDs were just a bridge to something bigger, so they quietly tracked 2 things in the background: postage costs and internet bandwidth speeds, waiting for the exact moment streaming would become possible without wrecking the customer experience. Blockbuster, meanwhile, stayed locked onto protecting its stores. They didn't launch their own online service until 2004, 4 years after they turned down the deal that would have handed them the entire streaming future. By then, it was too late. Blockbuster panicked. They killed late fees in 2005 at a cost of $200 million and launched confusing hybrid programs that eroded trust instead of rebuilding it. Boardroom chaos followed. Activist investor Carl Icahn pushed out the CEO. And here's the detail that says it all. Blockbuster was still running critical systems on outdated Fortran code in the late 2000s, while Netflix was already migrating everything to the cloud. Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Netflix is now worth over $250 billion. Same industry, same starting decade. One side reacted, one side anticipated. That's the entire gap right there. Now, Netflix proved anticipation can save a company. But what if you could build anticipation directly into how an entire company runs? Turns out, someone already did. In the early 2000s, Amazon had a hidden problem. Every single team building a new project had to build its own custom servers, storage, and databases from scratch. Constant bottlenecks, constant wasted engineering time. The fighter response would have been simple. Patch it, add more staff, keep firefighting the bottleneck project by project. Instead, Amazon's leadership zoomed out. They realized this wasn't just an internal headache, it was a massive, completely untapped market opportunity. Standardized, pay-as-you-go computing power. In 2006, they launched it publicly. We now call it AWS. It didn't make real money at first, and Amazon was fine with that because they weren't optimizing for this quarter. They were building infrastructure for the next decade. To protect that long-term thinking, they built a specific structure around it, small, autonomous 2 pizza teams, each one led by a single owner who shielded the team from corporate noise so they could move fast without losing the long game. Today, AWS isn't a side project. It's the profit engine of the entire company. That's what happens when foresight gets built into the actual architecture of an organization, not just the mindset of one person at the top. But foresight doesn't only work for products people can see. Sometimes the smartest strategic move is the one nobody's allowed to see at all. Before 2010, the chip industry ran on transparency. Companies like Intel and Qualcomm published years-long public roadmaps so device makers could plan around them. Apple looked at that system and quietly broke it. In 2008, Apple bought a small chip design firm called PA Semi for $278 million. Publicly, Steve Jobs said it was about building efficient mobile chips. Privately, Apple was building an entire proprietary chip engineering operation, in total secrecy, no public roadmap, no warning to competitors. Then in 2010, Apple stunned the industry with its own custom A4 chip inside the original iPad, and it didn't stop there. That secrecy turned into a multi-year head start that competitors still struggle to close today. That's the chess player mindset taken to its most extreme form, not just anticipating the future, but making sure nobody else even sees you preparing for it. Now, if you think this strategic mindset only applies to companies chasing profit, this next example will change your mind completely, because the highest stakes chess move in modern history wasn't made in a boardroom, it was made with nuclear weapons on the table. October 1962. The United States discovers the Soviet Union is secretly placing nuclear missiles in Cuba. President Kennedy's advisors split instantly. The military hawks wanted the fighters' answer: an immediate airstrike to destroy the missile sites, followed by a full invasion. Fast, aggressive, direct force. Kennedy understood something the Hawks didn't. A strike like that would corner the Soviets, and cornered nuclear powers don't back down quietly. It risked a full nuclear response, or an invasion of Berlin. So instead, Kennedy made the chess move, a naval blockade. It didn't destroy a single missile already on the island, but it did something more important. It bought time. It slowed the entire crisis down, and crucially, it gave Khrushchev a way to back down without losing face. That pause opened the door to quiet diplomacy, and the crisis ended with both sides withdrawing their missiles without a single shot fired. That's proactive control at the highest possible stakes, not reacting with force, anticipating the next 10 moves, and choosing the one move that kept the entire board from collapsing. So we've seen this mindset save a company, build an empire, and even prevent nuclear war. The real question now is, how do you actually build this into your own life and career, starting today? Here's the tension nobody talks about. Early on, you kind of have to be a fighter, fast, scrappy, reactive by necessity. Reid Hoffman calls this blitzscaling, prioritizing speed over efficiency when everything is uncertain. Startups move through 5 stages: family, tribe, village, city, and nation. And here's the trap. What gets you from family to tribe will actually break you when you're trying to jump from village to city. Scale too early, hire managers and structure before you've found real product market fit. And the data is brutal. Early scalers fail far more often because locking in rigid systems too soon is riskier than the fear of someone copying your idea. So, how do you stay fast without losing sight of the long game? This is where the OODA loop comes in. Observe, orient, decide, act. Most people think OODA is just about speed. It's not. The real power sits in the orient step, how you interpret what you're observing. And there's no better proof of this than Kodak versus Fuji. Kodak's own engineers literally invented the digital camera. They saw the future coming, clear as day, but their leadership interpreted that data through an outdated lens, protecting their wildly profitable film business, and treated digital as a niche toy instead of an existential threat. Fuji looked at the exact same technological shift and oriented completely differently. They restructured their core chemistry expertise into cosmetics and advanced materials while aggressively building their digital imaging business. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Fuji is still thriving today. Same information, same industry, completely different orientation. And that's the whole game, right there. So here's how you actually start playing chess instead of fighting fires. First, build a real planning gap. Separate your planning time from your operating time completely. Let planning be slow, deep, and collaborative. Let operating be fast and decisive, because the thinking's already done. Second, build foresight into your routine using 3 steps. Perceive, actively scan for weak signals before they become full-blown problems. Prospect, run through best case, worst case, and middle ground scenarios before you need them. Probe, run small, safe-to-fail experiments before you ever commit serious resources. Third, protect a culture of constructive dissent. Invite people to challenge your thinking, because the moment everyone around you agrees with everything you say, you've stopped playing chess. You're just fighting the same fight alone, and you don't even know it yet. So now you know the mindset, you know the framework, you know exactly how the chess player thinks. But here's the problem you're about to run into. Knowing this and actually executing it under real pressure are two completely different things. Because the moment a real crisis hits, your brain wants to default straight back into fighter mode. So the question is, how do you actually stay calm and strategic when everything around you is on fire? That's exactly what I break down in this next video right here. Go watch it now. Because this mindset means nothing if you can't hold on to it the second things get hard.